All right, so the spleen is over here on the left side of the abdominal cavity, and it's going to filter the blood. It's going to hold on to our blood. It serves as a blood reservoir, and it's going to filter and screen the blood for any potential pathogens. This is also going to be a place where worn out red blood cells are going to come, and when the worn out red blood cells come to the spleen is going to break them down and will renew the source in our bone marrow, as we need them. Now, attached to the spleen is this little tiny gland right here. It's kind of pink. So it's this little bitty gland here. So he's kind of attached to the spleen through these little pieces of connective tissue here. And in us and in cats, it kind of comes all the way around here to the back of the stomach. But here we can see this little pink gland right here. This little pink gland is the pancreas. The pancreas has a couple of different functions. In digestion, it's actually going to release a lot of our digestive enzymes into the small intestine so we can break down our food molecules. It also serves an endocrine function in that it releases hormones that regulate our blood sugar. And here in the pancreas, there are populations of cells that secrete two hormones, insulin, which lowers your blood glucose levels, and glucagon, which raises your blood glucose levels. Now, if we move down here, we're going to start to see this big mass of coiled material here. This is going to be our collective kind of intestines. This is where the food's going to go once it exits the stomach. Now, the first section of our intestines, you can actually see right here of the small intestines. So we're in the small intestines now, and here is the end of my stomach. Right here, you can see that first little section of tubing that comes off. That first section of tubing that comes off here is the duodenum. It's the very first part of our small intestines. And you'll see that the small intestine comes around, and I won't go through tracing the whole thing, but we end up here in the middle component of our small intestine. There are two more sections of our small intestine. In this region is most made up of the jejunum. That's the middle portion of our intestines. That's really what you see here as far as the small intestines are concerned. So these are the small intestines. Specifically, this middle portion is called the jejunum. Now I want you to notice that my small intestine has this thin membrane right here that you can see through, transparent membrane. This little membrane is called the mesentery. And the mesentery is a little membrane that supports a lot of blood vessels. You can see the little blood vessels kind of going through kind of in a spider web appearance there. So it's just a way as a passage for all these blood vessels to actually get to our small intestines to not only nourish the tissue of the small intestines, but also then to collect all of the nutrients that have been digested so that we can send them to the other parts of the body. Now, as we get to the very end of the small intestine, the next place that our food molecules are going to go is going to be into the large intestine or the colon. Now, there's a couple of interesting things here in the rabbit digestive system. On the right side, and this would be the same place for you, for humans, on the right side we're going to see this long finger-like projection. And I want you to notice that this little finger-like projection doesn't go anywhere. It's like a dead end right here. It doesn't connect to any other structures. This piece that you see that are between my two forefingers, this is the appendix of the rabbit. In humans, it's much smaller, and it's actually a vestigial organ, which means that it doesn't serve any function for us at all. In the rabbit, however, notice how long it is. The appendix is thought to, in herbivorous animals like a rabbit, to actually perform some type of digestive function. So it's going to be much larger. Now, the appendix is attached to this very large pouch right here. So you can see the beginning of the appendix here, and it attaches to this very large pouch that I'm tracing with my probe, and it comes all the way around here. This very large pouch, and I'm holding it here in my fingers, this large pouch is called the cecum. Again, in humans, it's very small, but in herbivorous animals, it's very large, in the case of the rabbit here, and it actually serves a digestive function as well. Now, at the end of the cecum is going to be the beginning of our large intestine, or the colon. And I'm going to pull it right here. We can see here is the beginning of our large intestine. Our large intestine, you can tell that it's different because I want you to notice these little ridges that you see here. When you see these ridges, the ridges are called haustra, and you're not responsible for that on the test. But look for these ridges called haustra, and you know that you are going to be in the colon, or large intestine. Here, anything that's not digested is going to be converted into feces. There's some water absorption that goes on in here and some salt absorption, but there's no nutrient absorption that occurs in the colon. So at this point, everything that's going to occur is pretty much converting everything that rabbit couldn't use as a nutrient into feces. And we'll track that colon all the way around. You can see here, more ridges. We're still in the colon. We're still in the colon. We're going to come around here, and I want you to notice where it changes here. At this point, when we get to this region of the colon, I want you to notice these little pellets. Well, this is rabbit feces. This is the rabbit pellet feces. And so here, feces is being formed. Feces are going to come around here through the colon, travel through. We're going to come all the way around. We're going to come up here. You can see those pellets are still there. We're going to come around here and all the way down right here. This is the rectum. So I'm going to pull this other stuff out of the way. This is reproductive and excretory organs that we'll talk about here in a second. But right here, when you get down to the end of the colon, this is the rectum. This is going to be where the feces are going to be stored, and then they're going to exit the body through the anus. And that concludes our trip through the digestive system and the abdominal organs.